Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeff here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your week daily morning show where we bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about a bold new development coming out of Department of Commerce Secretary Lutnick. Lutnick here is saying that Donald Trump is pushing for zero income taxes on anybody who makes less than $150,000 in the United States. This is a huge development because this development may end up being a part of a lot of other developments that are going on right now that will help Bitcoin to rally all the way back up to $150,000 itself. You see, we have an absolute plethora of bullish stories in crypto right now that are being perceived wrong. We have used that poor perception to fill in a very important visible range volume profile gap between $73,800 and $91,000 on the Bitcoin chart. And we also expect that over the next couple of months, we will fill in that gap and Bitcoin will go on a major rally as some of these bullish stories, such as the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve at the Texas level, at other state legislatures, and at the federal level, come to fruition. This is an extremely bullish year for Bitcoin, and we are in probably one of the most bearish months of that year, which means this is probably one of the best buying opportunities we are going to get all year on Bitcoin. So today, we are going to be talking about where Bitcoin is going and what is going on right now in crypto. Welcome to the stream. If you are new here, my name is Jeb McAfee. I've been helping to teach you guys about cryptocurrency and how to succeed in this space for over 7 years now, going on a decade. We'll be hitting a decade here in just a couple of years, and I really appreciate the journey that it's been. I really appreciate getting to pour into you guys. I really appreciate learning from you guys, and I love working together to build financial sovereignty, not only in our life, but also in our life, because I want to see you guys succeed. Let's read a little bit of chat, and then we're going to jump right on over to CoinMarketCap and get started. Joe Bollier was first today, said, good morning, Jeb. Good morning to you as well. Philly Skills 1428 said, good Thursday morning, Jeb. And Crypto Fam. GT Rocker said, Jeb bought the low a few days ago live on air. Good timing. I did. Yeah, I sure did. We bought down at 70. I know we have an entry at 77,740. I believe it was. I believe we also got an entry down in the high 76s. I'll open that on another screen and see where that entry was. Very excited about those entries. Absolutely great opportunity that we were presented with there, so very thankful for that. Andrew Johnson said, how's the family, mate? Well, you know, life is hard in and of itself, but we are doing well. Everybody's doing okay. I mean, there's obviously always things that need to be worked on. There's always this, that, and the third, but I think everybody's generally moving in a good direction. Very excited about that. Christopher Ryan said, morning financial sovereignty family. Good morning to you as well, Christopher Ryans. Corey Bowser is in chat. Shadrach Frost is in chat. Said, folks, let's hit that like button right away. I would also encourage everyone to share this stream and spread the FinSov ways. Absolutely. Eden Gardening Tower said, people tend to be short-sighted and ignorant to reality. This cycle is different. People need to grasp that. To a great degree, I would agree with that sentiment. This is a very different rally than anything Bitcoin has ever seen. In a lot of ways, it's going to end up playing out similar, but it is fundamentally different because the architecture of cryptocurrency is really starting to come into its own. We're really starting to see what Bitcoin is made of. We're really starting to see what this industry is made of. This is an extremely, this is a trial by fire kind of time for Bitcoin. So let's kind of start with a broad overview here. Bitcoin's currently trading at $81,886. It is doing a phenomenal job. Everybody is dumping on Bitcoin, and I don't understand why. People are so freaking impatient. If you want to be an investor, you got to start out with patience. You know what's impatient? Looking at this chart and saying Bitcoin's a scam, it's folly. Look at it go down. What is patience is zooming out and saying, man, so far in history, if I had just shut my trap and held for 6 or 7 years, I would have made a bunch of money. And it still works that way. If you would have just quit thinking you were smarter than the market, and you bought and you held for a long time, then you'd be in a better place than you are right now. Look at this market. At one point in time, this looked like the biggest rally that Bitcoin had ever witnessed. At one point in time, this looked like the biggest rally that Bitcoin had ever witnessed. At one point in time, this looked like the biggest rally that we had ever witnessed. At one point in time, this looked like the biggest rally that we had ever witnessed. Bitcoin's at $150. Newsflash, today, Bitcoin at $150. Is the end of Bitcoin here? No. It's obvious when we zoom out and we see, oh my gosh, I can't even see it. Do you see it? It's down there. You can't even see it. Right there. Read the sign. 150. That's that high that we were just looking at. Can't even see it. Looks huge right here. 150. Right? Oh, no, that's 27. That's another rally. 150, right over here. See the date, March 11th, 2013. Looks massive, right? Makes everything behind it look so small. Zoom out to here. There it is, right down there. Let's find it. March 11, 411. Right there, same price, $150.85. Do you see where I'm going with this? You can only see the last two bull markets because everything else is so small, it blends into the baseline. There are people that don't watch this channel because they say, Jeb, you're off topic. Jeb, you're not talking about cryptocurrency. And I'm talking about patience. And they're saying, Jeb, you're not talking about cryptocurrency. I'm talking about generosity. They say, Jeb, you're not talking about cryptocurrency. I'm talking about debt. They say, Jeb, you're not talking about cryptocurrency because I'm talking about Jesus. You say, Jeb. I say, no, I'm on topic. You're not. We've got to get this guy right between your ears, behind your nose, in the mirror. That guy, if we get him figured out, my friends, that's where you can really go and make something. We got to start taking responsibility. We got to put our feet on the ground from the moment we wake up and say, the future is in my hands, Jeb, but the future isn't in my hands. Ignore that. Focus on what you can control. Here's what we can control. We can control a couple of things. Number one, we can control our understanding of where Bitcoin is. This is why we do technical analysis every single day on this chart. We can control whether or not we understand the current market structure. Here's the current market structure. Bitcoin's got three major zones. One here, one here, one here. One of them has plenty of trading. One of them has a good bit of trading. One of them has none. So where's Bitcoin going to go? Bitcoin is like water. We've established this. Bitcoin's like water. It flows from higher elevations down to lower elevations. Visible range volume profile is still loading. I was wondering where it was. As you'll see, whenever that loads, we've got a peak up here. It's going to look a little bit something like this whenever it loads. VRVP is going to look a little something like that. And you're going to notice, let's just go ahead and turn it off and turn it back on again. That's the age-old way to fix something, right? Ah, it worked. Look at that. See, it looks a little something like this. We've got a peak right here, valley, right there. We've got no trading in here. Bitcoin's like water. It moves downhill. This is uphill. This is uphill. This is downhill. Bitcoin moves downhill. It moved downhill to 73 because we didn't do it before. That's why we're down here. That's why Bitcoin is not getting momentum, because this is still downhill. But as we spend more time here, between 74 and 91, Bitcoin is going to establish this as like a plateau, and then we're going to rally, because we'll fall downhill up towards the upside, right? That's what's going to happen. That's where we're going. That's what the next few months look like. But so many of us, and this is the key part here, don't have patience. You are being presented right now. I'm telling you, I'm showing it to you right now, live on air. You are being presented with an amazing buying opportunity. Here's the risk. Bitcoin starts a bear market right now. Can that happen? Yeah, that's always a background risk. It is. It's always a background risk. Is it going to happen? I don't think so. I don't think that's happening right now, but it's always a background risk. But it's a relatively low risk because of everything we have on the horizon. So today we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to start out on the charts. Then we're going to talk about the fundamentals. Then we're going to weave those two together into a picture of where we're going next, because that's what you really want. You want to know where we're going and how we're going to get there. But we're not going to stop there. Then, fourth, we're going to talk about what we should be doing based on that picture of where we're going. That's how we weave wisdom, technical and fundamental analysis, and application into the greatest live stream on YouTube covering cryptocurrency. Welcome to the stream. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, buckle up. We're about to have some fun. Where are we right now? Technically speaking, there are two peaks on the VRVP, up here and over here. How does VRVP work? Well, if you go through the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, which you can find the link to in the description box down below, Visible range volume profile shows us something very simple. It shows us where volume happened. What is volume? It's trading. It's somebody changed hand. It's where Bitcoin changed hands. And generally, it is basically determined by the amount of time you spent at that range. It's not that simple because it's based on the volume. But generally speaking, it mostly has to do with how much time you spent in a certain range. A big peak right here, a big peak right here, nothing here. Bitcoin needed to fill that gap. As we've established in yesterday's stream and streams before that, we had a big gap very similar to that right here between $20,000 and $30,000 right in here. If we just kind of, just a quick recap of this, because we did talk about this yesterday. It always autocorrects to FRAP. That's funny. FRVP. If we just kind of go ahead and draw our fixed range volume profile here. Let's go ahead and have that load. You can see that there's trading up here, right? See that? Might have to zoom in a little bit. There's nothing here, right? So Bitcoin had to fill that gap. That's why the last bear market came down here to about $20,000 baseline, because we skipped that part of the market here, or else Bitcoin probably wouldn't have fallen 73%. It probably would have fallen 24%. That's why we talk about all the time how 2021 was a stunted bull market. Why was it a stunted bull market? Because the first rally was so large that nothing could ever happen again after that. We rallied so far, so fast, so unhealthily that the bear market was just was a foregone conclusion. This bear market was a result of this manipulated bull market that went too fast. We don't want that to happen. Bitcoin is sitting here between two peaks on the VRVP, which is exactly what Bitcoin was doing back here. We were right here. We needed to fill in this gap instead of rallying up to here, filling in the gap, spending some time rallying and doing this kind of number, right? And then we're hitting all-time high like over here. We hit all-time high very quickly, had to go through a big bear market. Bitcoin is establishing a much healthier long-term market structure, but that's not all. We've got a lot of support underneath Bitcoin, and we do not have technical confirmation of a bear market starting, and we're actually very far away from it as well. The way that we confirmed that we got technical confirmation of the bear market beginning last cycle was right here. This is the 50 weekly simple moving average. When Bitcoin falls below the 50 weekly simple moving average, basically the 1 year moving average, that's when we have full confirmation that the bear market is beginning. Now, that is a pretty delayed indicator. For example, we knew the bear market was starting here when Bitcoin was at $7,500. So it wasn't very helpful in this case, but we knew that we were going into a bear market at that point in time. Back here, it actually would have been even more so the 20 weekly exponential moving average. We go into the logarithmic chart here. If you'll remember, we talked about how the 20 weekly exponential moving average was our determinant factor that we were going into a bear market. We knew Bitcoin was going into a bear market after it approached about a 45% corrective movement in January of 2018. Similarly, here in December of 2021, after we broke beneath the 20 and also the 50, because remember, we're having diminishing returns, expanding time horizons, which means we've got to use different moving averages. We knew we were going into a bear market. Here, we're sitting on the 50 simple moving average, and we could even drop down probably to the 100 before we would confidently go into a bear market. That is sitting right there around $56,000. Bitcoin has not dropped down to $56,000. It has not even dropped down to the visible range volume profile point of control here at $67,000. It's going to show up right there here in just a second. Let's see this. It's going to show up right here, actually, this higher line. We've not seen that happen. And so Bitcoin is not into a confirmed bear market. We don't have any reason to believe that from the fundamental standpoint, as we'll talk about in a second. So short term, Bitcoin is sitting here between these two zones, right here and right here, building out the market structure so that we build a healthier market than we did in 2021. This is a healthier market than we were in 2021, which is going to give us an amazing bounce here in the next couple of months back up towards all-time high and beyond. If we start breaking major support levels like $67,000, that's when we may start singing a different tune. But we have not seen that happen right now. We do not have a strong confirmation that we're going into a bear market at all. None. Okay, so technically speaking, where are we going? If there's no confirmation that we're going into a bear market, then we've got to figure out where our bottom is. Our bottom is likely somewhere between $67,000, the point of control here, the point of highest volume here in our previous market that's being used as support, or even the high here at $74,000. Somewhere between our current bottom, just a couple of days ago at $76,000, somewhere between 76, our current bottom, and 67 is our bottom, which means that our bottom for this market is most likely somewhere around here. It may have already happened. It may not have already happened. We're not having a crazy amount of bullishness, so it's possible we go lower. It is very, very possible that we go lower, and in fact, I do think it's likely. I don't think we're out of the woods yet. I don't think we're ready to go into a bull market, or into the next phase of the bull trend. We're still in a bull market. I don't think we're ready to go into the next phase of the uptrend. just yet. We sat down here and we fought with the 20 weekly exponential moving average a little bit back here. I think something similar is going to happen. We're probably going to fight with the 20 weekly EMA. We could rally up to 91, fall back down to 67. I don't think we're done. Something like this is probably what's going to take place over the next couple of months through March and April and probably on even into May. But eventually, at some point in time, Bitcoin's going to put a bottom in here and the bears are going to get exhausted because remember, most of the people selling right now are not necessarily bears. They are also, a lot of them are bulls that made a bunch of profit and they are selling. So it's not really so much bears even that are driving this market. It's more so people that are taking profit from buying down here at 20K. Keep something in mind. If someone's a bull and they bought in down here at $20,000, they're just like right there on the fence to become a bear if they're up 5x. So by this correction happening, you're relieving the pressure that these bulls are feeling of selling because they're taking their profits. And you know what they're doing? They're not taking the money out of the market. They're reinvesting it. They're selling it up here to satisfy that urge to sell because they're up 5x from down here at 20K. And then they're buying in at 80 and they're growing their baseline from $20,000 to $80,000. A bunch of the people holding up here are sitting on Bitcoin that's up 5x. Well, hang on. When they buy back in down here at 74, now they're sitting on Bitcoin that doesn't have a baseline, an average cost basis of $20,000 that they're just itching to sell and itching to become bears. No, instead, they buy in at 74, at 82, whatever, and their average cost basis is so much higher, so they're not in a hurry to sell. They're willing to hold it to 200, right? You're allowing the average cost basis of the entire market to rally as you spend time here, and people start cycling out old Bitcoin that they got at lower levels for new Bitcoin that they're getting at higher levels, which raises their expectation and their minimum price to sell the Bitcoin. It, in a sense, turns long-term holders into short-term holders and allows them to hold Bitcoin for longer. It's a very beautiful thing that's taking place as Bitcoin's trading sideways here. You're having people in long-term positions liquidate them and buy them right back, and then that's resetting their perceived average cost basis, which allows them to hold it for longer and have a higher expectation of the price. It is exactly how a bottom happens every single time. It is the mechanism that takes place. And so that bottom is probably coming at some point in the next couple of months as people start saying, okay, I've taken my profits. I'm also getting back into my position. People took their profits up here. They're getting into their positions down here, and they're getting ready to move. That's what's happening, right? The bulls become stronger because the bears become weaker. The bears become weaker because the bulls become stronger. It goes both ways. And so here's what's going to happen. We're going to fall back down to support. That support could either be the 50 simple moving average, which is right here. That support could be another moving average. For example, out on the monthly chart, we've got the 20 monthly exponential moving average, 20 monthly EMA sitting right here. We've held support architecture on this level during a bull market every point in history, more or less. That's sitting at $67,000. Once again, $67,000 is a possibility, and it's not a possibility that we should be scared of. It is a real possibility. And from that point in time, if we do bounce off of one of those levels, which is most likely, because this fear that we're seeing, this fear over here that we're looking at in fear and greed, this fear right here in fear and greed, right? This is people freaked out because everybody's freaked out. This is a self-induced cycle of fear, and it's also induced by the fear that we've got going on in U.S. stocks. This correction, make no mistake, is coming in tandem with one of the largest stock market crashes that the United States stock market has seen in a very long time. This is one of the biggest crashes that we've seen, 10% drop. There's talk of recession. There's blood in the streets. This is the largest crash that we've seen since, July through September and October of 2023. You got the trade war, the tariffs going on. People are not happy about it. Stocks are getting eviscerated, right? So that's not going to last forever. That's going to take some time. It'll end up working out. But Bitcoin is following along with that. But guess what? U.S. stocks are going to bottom out eventually, and so is Bitcoin. Now, let's kind of look at the other perceived side of this. If the United States stock market does go into a recession, if we do see a recession, then that is where we would probably see a preemptive bear market of Bitcoin. If the United States stock market dropped below 20% off of the all-time high, it probably would send Bitcoin into a bear market. I just don't think that's going to happen. Here's another thing. Bitcoin's got a very strong long-term uptrending support, very long-term uptrending level of support right here that we're probably going to find support at right around $70,000. Bitcoin has a rock solid floor beneath it between 67 and 73. The technical levels of support are unparalleled in the history of this bull market. It's extremely strong. Now, that being said, we've got something similar going on over here on U.S. stocks. If the United States stock market drops down to 480, that's a 22% drop. That is enough to technically be a recession, but we probably wouldn't stay down there for very long because this level of resistance at 480, set back here right before the Russo-Ukrainian war kicked off, is a massive level of support. We could see U.S. equities drop all the way down to 480 on U.S. S&P 500. If that happens, yeah, Bitcoin's probably sitting down there around 67 for a while, but then a bounce is probably going to come into U.S. stocks and to Bitcoin. It's going to be a difficult couple of months. We're looking at 8 more weeks of winter, if you will. But what we can say confidently is if the United States stock market turns around, which I think it will, and if the Bitcoin market holds these strong levels of support, then we're going to see a lot of bullishness. But it's not coming right now, and that's what I need you to understand. We're not about to just see some takeoff where Bitcoin's going to completely decouple from U.S. stocks. That there is no historical precedent for that. Bitcoin needs, at this point in its infancy, because Bitcoin is still an infant compared to where it will be one day, at this point in its infancy, Bitcoin needs the U.S. equities markets to be doing well for it to do well. But isn't it funny, don't you notice that Bitcoin is not crashing in a way that looks like U.S. equities are falling through the floor? Sure, Bitcoin dropped 30% while U.S. equities dropped 10%. But if you'll notice, for example here, when Bitcoin dropped this much, Bitcoin was doing relatively well. Bitcoin is not... here's what I'm trying to say. What you would think is that with a 10% drop on U.S. stock market, a very, very, very rapid drop on U.S. stock market, you would think that would crash the price of Bitcoin straight through the floor. I mean, you can see how we're just kind of falling over here. That's not the same look, just visually. That's not the same look of just abject terror that the United States S&P 500 is doing right now. I mean, we're just nosediving on the stock market, right? You don't see the same thing in Bitcoin. What I see in these charts, you see the difference here. Notice the difference. Let's just kind of compare them here. If you look at these charts, you'll notice very rapidly that one of them is nosediving and the other one is falling, but not just jumping straight off a cliff like we've seen happen with the S&P 500. We're not seeing the same proportion. Bitcoin obviously is dropping farther, but that's because it rallies further. It's more volatile, but you're not seeing the same level of abject terror in Bitcoin that you're seeing in U.S. equities. So we've established a few things. Number one, we've established that Bitcoin needs to spend time in this range. We've been saying this for a very long time. Bitcoin needs to spend time in this range between here and between here. And in all future markets, if the market does this, you will know that the market needs to spend some time right here, right? You'll know that. That's what it needs to do. Yes, the second thing, we've established all the levels of support that Bitcoin has. It has, just to kind of run through them one at a time, it has $67,000, the VRVP point of control. It has this long-term uptrending level of support. It's got the 50 weekly simple moving average sitting right here. We've got the weekly 20 exponential moving average sitting right here. And so when we turn all these moving averages off and just look at all of our levels of support, we've got support architecture all over the place. We've got our current bottom here with the bullish RSI divergence. Here's another thing. Daily chart, from 2 daily chart all the way down to 1 hourly chart. We've got bullish RSI divergence. Bullish RSI divergence, 20 weekly simple moving average, 20 monthly exponential moving average, the 50 weekly simple moving average, this uptrending level of support, $73,800 a previous all-time high, and $67,000 as the visible range volume profile point of control. That gives us essentially a box, which I already showed you, but I'll show you again. Essentially a box, like right here. There's all kinds of support beneath us. Bitcoin is in exceptional territory to find support somewhere above 67, most likely in the range of 70 to 74. We might drop a little further than we have. I have zero confidence that the bottom is in right now. It's possible, but very little confidence to say, yep, bottom's in. But somewhere in here, Bitcoin's probably going to bottom out. And same thing with the U.S. equities. We're probably going to see a bottom on them. So let's talk a little bit about fundamentals. Why are we seeing this drop on U.S. equities that's leading to a drop on Bitcoin? Well, there's a global trade war that's being kicked off right now. Donald Trump has walked in and basically said, Cold War II is starting. If we are the ones to fire the first shot, then that means that we're going to have the opening advantage. And so Donald Trump walked in and basically said the following: we're going to tariff the living hell out of everybody, raise income that way, and then lower taxes, knowing full well it's going to cause inflation. But at the same time, we're going to lower interest rates. We're just going to come in like just like a hurricane and just change everything. That was always going to crash the market. Like, when I voted for Donald Trump, I never thought for a second that what he was saying was not going to crash the market. I knew full well it was going to crash the market. I think in the long run, it's going to be helpful. Obviously, I'm biased. You can think what you want to think. In the long run, I think the tariffs are going to be helpful for the United States. But what I can tell you is this. Everybody, even on Trump's team, knew that it was going to lead to inflation, and any of them with half a brain cell and some honesty knew that it was going to crash the market in the short term. It was obvious. There's no way that the most powerful country on planet Earth tariffing everybody and basically announcing the end of globalization as we freaking know it was not going to crash global markets. I mean, come on. It was very obvious. The fact that it wasn't priced in and the fact that the market rallied some when he got elected is because people hope that it's going to end up being good for us in the long run. In the short term, obviously, it was going to crash the market. We knew this was going to happen. I mean, come on. We got lots of hopes about the Bitcoin strategic reserve, but these tariffs were always going to crash the market. You put a 25% tariff on our north and south neighbor. I understand why you're doing it from a geopolitical standpoint. I actually understand the strategy of it when you look out 5-10 years. Short term, yeah, that raises prices. So that's why we're going through a correction. There's a global trade war that's being kicked off. In the long run, it's, a good or a bad thing for the rest of the world. It's potentially, and we'll see how it plays out, a good thing for the United States. But it probably is. It probably will bring a lot of investment to the United States. We've seen that. I'm not trying to get too far off into politics. I want you guys to make your own decisions and think what you think. But what I will say is this. These tariffs were always, in the short term, going to cause a crash in the market. And hopefully, in the long run, they will be good for the American economy. We'll see, though. At the end of the day, Trump could be wrong. He could be playing the wrong gambit. We'll find out. What I do know is that it was always going to crash the market, these tariffs. It was always going to happen. That being said, it doesn't have to continue crashing the market. A lot of that is now being priced in as we speak. And as it gets priced in, a bottom will eventually be found. A fair market value for U.S. equities and for Bitcoin will be found in a world of increasing tariffs from the United States on everybody else. That will be found, and we will start to see whether or not Trump's policies are working over the next 6 to 12 months. It takes a very long time for federal level policy to have any impact on the market in a real sense. The news breaking will have a big impact on the sentiment, which can cause the market to change in a matter of seconds. But whether or not it actually impacts price and different data, a lot of that stuff is 6, 12, 18 months downstream. So we really just don't know yet the consequences of a lot of Trump's actions. Obviously, hopefully they'll be good for the American people. I'd lean in the direction that they will, but I also very much am somebody who says I will believe when I see it. So we'll see what happens. What I do think is that in the next 2 to 3 months, the sentiment, the fear of these tariffs is going to wear off, and people are going to stop talking about it all the time, and it's going to stop weighing the markets down in that sense, and it's probably going to start, and the market's probably going to start recovering just because the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around tariffs has eased. And at that point in time, you're looking at a bottom for the United States S&P 500 and for Bitcoin over the next month to 2 months to 3 months. And we're going to see how we're just going to see where that bottom is. After that bottom comes in, because I think it will, after that bottom comes in, that's where I think you're looking for a strong bounce on U.S. equities and also on Bitcoin. I think you're looking at a very strong bounce on U.S. equity, somewhere above 480 on SPY, SPDR, S&P 500 ETF Trust, right? If we go over to the SPY I think will be bouncing somewhere above 480. That's a long way to go to get down to 480. Don't get me wrong. That's a big crash, right? And it's a scary, honking crash. That's not something that you really, that it is scary, and I get that. But it is probably where we'd find support. We've seen a 35% crash during the beginning of COVID. The market just kept tearing off like crazy. So we're probably going to see a crash somewhere above 480. If we do some more analysis on this chart, I'm sure we can find some longer-term support architecture. I bet the 20-monthly exponential moving average would be helpful here. Let's see if it is. So the 20-monthly exponential moving average, we dropped below it a few times, but it might help us find support, maybe around 500 big even. Support's going to be found somewhere, and the market will turn around. As it does, that's going to present us with an opportunity to take action. If we understand the technical support for Bitcoin, why fundamentally the market, both of them, are going through a correction, then we can start ascertaining that third point of where we're going. We're going to bounce. We're going to probably rally back up towards all-time high, moving towards the later half of this year. That's where we can start making decisions right now. If we see what's happening and where we're going, then that's where we can make wise decisions in the now. Because remember, knowledge leads to understanding. Knowledge and understanding paired with the fear of the Lord lead to wisdom. And so if we have wisdom, then we will act in a wise way. And for those of us that are trying to follow the fifth law of money, which is to save and invest, we want to look at good entries. And a good entry that I see coming is on Bitcoin and the rest of the alts. The bottom, I don't think is in. I'm not convinced for a second that the bottom is in. But I do think we're in the range of the bottom. $81,000, great place to be buying if Bitcoin goes to 200. You know, Bitcoin being down here at 67, great place to be buying if we're going to 150. So as we drop down, that's where a wonderful, amazing buying opportunities present themselves. And that's where I really want to take this conversation is what do we do about this? What do we do about this market as we speak right now? That's what we want to see. So let's go ahead and read some chat. See where we're going. You voted for Trump, ha ha ha. You hypocrite using God like that. I don't for a second think Trump is perfect. But should I not vote for someone? There are a few million Americans that fought and died for my right to vote. Should I just abstain? Is that the Christian thing to do, to not have a hand in politics? I don't think Trump is perfect. I've never come out and said he's the Messiah, and I will definitely tell you right now, there are things he has said and done that I vehemently disagree with. I do think there are a lot of times that he's been downright hateful. I don't think that's very Christian. But what I will say is that we've got to participate in the political system that we're given. I don't think it's necessarily the right thing to do to just say, forget it, I'm just not even going to participate. I don't want to get caught up in the dogma, and I'm certainly not going to try and tell you guys that Trump is perfect or that I'm perfect, because I don't think either one of us are, and I think Trump's definitely got a lot of things that are not that he needs to work on. What I will say is that we need to try and participate in the political system that we find ourselves in. I do think it's part of our civic duty, and I believe that he had a better chance of doing something good for the country than Kamala. I did, and so God will judge me in the end to see whether or not I made the right decision. I don't know. Ultimately, we've got to see what he does. Let what he does judge whether he was a good president or not, and whether or not we made the right choice. Treasury Secretary Bessonnet said the White House is focused on the real economy and not concerned about a little market volatility. Yeah, that's pretty much how they're looking at it. They don't really concern about a little bit of they're not really concerned right now about a little bit of volatility. They're not really concerned about a crash, it doesn't seem like. Big news, though, that I do want to talk about is the idea that Trump is now considering eliminating income tax on earners less than $150,000. President Trump is considering a new tax policy where individuals earning less than $150,000 annually might not have to pay taxes, according to U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. This proposal is part of a broader discussion on fiscal strategy as the 2017 tax cuts face expiration. This policy aims to shift taxation burdens away from the IRS to the ERS, the External Revenue Service, like a membership fee from other countries trading with the United States. This is something that is very interesting, and obviously if this manages to get pulled off would be extremely popular. The question is whether or not he can do it while maintaining a balanced budget. We don't have a balanced budget, so it makes it even more difficult. We're running a $2 trillion a year deficit. But if this were to go through, in the short term, this would be extremely bullish for the markets. People would be very happy about this, in the same way that the market rallies a lot whenever you see something like interest rates get cut, because in a sense, some of your expenses go down, right? Interest on your debt and taxes are two of the largest expenses that Americans pay for anything. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. So if this comes out, if this actually comes to fruition, if this actually happens, my God, what do you think the impact on the market would be? Do you think this would be bullish for the market, bearish for the market? What do you think? I don't know that it's possible. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know that it's possible. I don't know that he can pull this off. I don't know that he's going to. I don't know that he has the ability to do this. We'll see. We will see. I don't know that that's actually going to happen. But it'd be real interesting to see what happened if it did. Because you've got to understand, the first 100 years or so of the history of the United States, we didn't have an income tax. You understand the T-tax, if I remember my history right, was a 3% tax on tea. Yeah, 3 pence per pound, or 3% of the price. The 3% tea tax refers to the 3 pence per pound, or 3% of the tax on tea imported into the American colonies, which was a key factor leading to the Boston Tea Party and the American Revolution. We went to war, let's just America for a second. We went to war with the most powerful nation on planet Earth over 3%. On one product. say what you will, but I call it American trying to get rid of taxes. Isn't that like what we're entirely based on? And now we tax to the tune of trillions of dollars a year. The United States federal government existed for a very long time with no income tax at all. The federal income tax was put into place, I believe, I need to check myself on this. Take this with a grain of salt and check it yourself. I'll check it right here while I'm talking. But if I recall correctly, the beginning of the federal income tax started with a 1% tax under Abraham Lincoln to finance the North's war effort against the South. I'm going to look that up. I believe, if I recall correctly, it was a brief wartime tax. Let's see. Let's see if I can recall this correctly. I believe it was a wartime tax during the and then it took off a lot more in the 1913 for the First World War. I know that. Pre-16th Amendment. It was part of the Revenue Act. To help pay, here we go. To help pay for its war effort in the American Civil War, Congress imposed the first personal income tax in 1861. It was part of the Revenue Act of 1863. 3% of all incomes over $800 rescinded in 1872. Congress also enacted the Revenue Act of 1862, which levied a 3% income tax on incomes above $600, rising to 5% on incomes above $10,000. Rates were raised in 1864. This income tax was repealed in 1872. That's right. So there was an income tax for 11 years to finance the most bloody war that the United States has ever fought. That money raised an army of 1 million men, fed them, clothed them, and, sent them off to die, and built the modern railway infrastructure that we still operate on as a nation on between 3 and 5% federal income tax. And then it was eradicated because it's un-American, and it was gone again until 1913 during the First World War, which at the time was called the Great War because it was the largest war in the history of mankind. And it came back. Let's see if we can find it. Congress readopted the income tax in 1913, levying a 1% tax on net personal incomes above $3,000 with a 6% surtax on incomes above $500,000. $500,000 back then was like, oh, I don't know. You want to talk about taxing the rich? This was taxing the rich. The $500,000 income back then was literally probably about a $50 million income nowadays. By 1918, the top rate of the income tax was increased to 77% on income over $1 million to finance World War I. The top marginal tax rate was reduced to 58% in 1922 and 25% in 1925, and finally reduced to 24% in 1929. In 1932, the top marginal tax rate was increased to 63% during the Great Depression and steadily increased. Did you ever notice that in the 10s and the 20s, 1910s, 1920s, the American government and the American people adopted two ideas? The American government in the 1910s and the 1920s adopted two ideas. Number one, they adopted a crap ton of income tax. Just everybody's getting taxed. Did you hear that? This is where Bernie comes in. 77% on income over $1 million. Now, let's get one thing straight. These are people, oh my gosh, they're very rich. And there's also a global war going on. We adopted two things right before the Great Depression. Don't think for a second they're not connected. We adopted a very high income tax and the government started getting a hell of a lot larger. And two, we adopted a culture that accepted debt. Debt was agreed upon because the nation, broadly speaking, followed the wisdom of the Bible at the time. Not perfectly. In a lot of ways it didn't. We're not talking about racism. That's not biblical, right? Didn't follow the Bible in everywhere. But at least the culture understood that debt was stupid. In the 1910s and 1920s, the roaring 20s, things seemed to be great in the short term because we raised taxes to the sky and because we started taking out a bunch of debt. And then the Great Depression happened and the entire economy collapsed in on itself. Post-Depression, instead of going back and rescinding all this income tax and making the government smaller, and instead of the culture realizing that debt is stupid, we continued down that path and we put up all kinds of guardrails so that we can safely manage. Oh, well, if you just smoke your cigarette like this, you won't get lung cancer. Oh, well, if you only drank 14 beers a day, you won't become a drunk and beat your wife. Oh, well, if you only jump off a bridge one time a year, you might not smack the ground and die. And we still don't see the problem with this. The size of government deficit spending, and debt is the issue with our financial system. Do I hope this passes? You're absolutely right, I do. Can he pull it off? I have no idea. And if it did pull off, if he did manage to do it, I don't know exactly how you're gonna balance the budget. I don't know. I don't know that he's gonna be able to raise the kind of money through tariffs that he thinks he is. I think Trump believes he's gonna be able to raise $2 to $3 trillion a year through tariffs. I'm not convinced yet. If we look at the U.S. debt clock, for example, U.S. government income from tariffs right now stands at, I want to say, let's see, we'll pull it up. Before I look, I want to say like 130 billion. Let's make a guess. 130 billion, I would say, is the amount of income that the U.S. makes from excise tax. Okay, here we go. 105 billion, 100,000 million billion. Yeah, $105 billion off of tariffs, excise tax. It's the same word. Future tariff tax. Let's see. Flat tax on specific future tariff tax revenue. Customs duty is a tariff or tax imposed on goods which transport in the United States. Okay. So this is saying that they're expecting $565 billion. But even still, even if that were to happen, that's not even $1 trillion. We've got a $2 trillion deficit here, right? So we'll see. I don't know if Trump can pull this off, and I certainly don't know if he can pull it off while balancing the budget. You've got to cut several $1 trillion of government spending and raise a couple $1 trillion a year to make it happen. But what I will say is that getting rid of debt and getting rid of income tax is one of the most American things you can do, and I sure as hell hope it happens. I hope it does. Give me a 1 in chat if you think government is too big and it's a huge part of the problem. Doge is cutting the fat. Hopefully. Let's read a little bit of chat. Woodrow Wilson was the president who started the income tax. Yep. Let's see. We got some ones in chat. Agreed. Jeb predicted 100K in September last year. Yeah, I think I predicted $100,000 in September of this year. We beat it. We got here faster than I predicted, I think. I don't recall exactly. You'll tell me. How will Israel survive if U.S. Americans don't pay tax? No taxation without representation. Yep. At $35 trillion of debt and only $1.7 trillion per year from workers, what's the point at this point? Yeah, exactly. The government has a spending problem. Huge spending problem. Literally, the United States federal government has the largest spending problem in the history of mankind. There has never been a spending problem within 1 billion% of this. Ever. Ridiculous. Absolutely freaking absurd. Government is not the solution. Government is the problem. The government's too big, and what you do in your life is the solution. Government is not the solution to your problems. They're the cause of plenty of your problems. They are the solution. You know, if everybody was wise and had a good childhood and good parents that cared about them and loved them enough to say, hey, you should invest for your future, we wouldn't even need Medicaid. We wouldn't even need it. If we had a culture where we came together, as Christians are supposed to do, and help each other and say, hey, you can't pay for your insurance, I'll pay for your insurance. I'll be generous and help you. It means I'm going to sacrifice, but I'll help you. We wouldn't even need Medicare. We wouldn't even need Medicaid. You want to take a look? Take a look at this. Let's just go through why the government's so freaking big, and I'll show you why it's culture's fault. We've got the 3 largest line items right here. Medicare and Medicaid. This right here, if people actually came together and helped each other and cared about each other, you wouldn't need either one of these line items. That's $3 trillion a year of expenses. Social Security, if people had the wisdom and the teaching and the support to understand that investing is important for your future, because one day you're going to be too old to work, and invested in their future and did what we taught them to do and had the social backing to do it, you wouldn't need Social Security. If people were able to stand on their own 2 feet and they put work in and they worked the ground and they were hard workers and they had people around them to help them when they fall, you wouldn't need Medicare and Medicaid. And if we weren't stupid enough to go into debt to finance these things, we wouldn't have $1 trillion a year of interest payments. That's $4 trillion a year of government spending that is here because we can't get our act together and care about each other. With the rest of the corruption, with the rest of the defense spending, which is a whole mess in and of itself. the government would be running a $2 trillion a year surplus, and taxes would be half of what they are. The bill comes due. We don't want to obey Jesus and love God and love people, and because of that, the government's doing it for us, and they suck at it. The church has got to start actually caring about people. It's not that I don't want to see people on welfare because I don't want to help them. I don't want to see the government being the one to help them because that's supposed to be the church's job. The church was who was helping. That is the church's job to take care of people. And instead, the United States government stepped in. You know why? Because the church stopped doing it. Because we got so freaking greedy. We got so concerned about what our own lives look like that we stopped helping each other and loving each other as a country. And as Abraham Lincoln said, and he was quoting the Bible, mind you, a house divided amongst itself cannot stand. Everybody's fighting each other instead of caring about each other and loving each other because we are brothers and sisters here in the United States. Instead of us coming together and putting aside our differences and loving one another, whether the person that we're loving deserves it or not, we're spending trillions of dollars every year to maintain a lifestyle that should have been maintained by our own generosity. The reason your taxes are so high is because you and your forefathers and everybody else around you is not willing to step in and do the job that the government's doing. The government's doing the dirty work of helping people because we, the church, aren't willing to do it. Because God forbid somebody mess up our perfect little lives. Financial sovereignty is not just about getting rich. It's about changing the world and redeeming creation and helping people. That's why we're here. I couldn't care less if you buy a Lamborghini on your way up. Just make sure that you bring some people with you. That's the main point. All right, let's go ahead and read a little bit of chat, and we're going to have to wrap it out here in just a minute. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. The tariffs are bringing investment, manufacturing, and innovation into America, which in turn dramatically increases tax revenue. Doge will trim $1 trillion off the budget. We'll be close to solvent. I think it probably will happen. Cryptorado Invest. That's a cool name. Let's see. Kathy's Wood is in chat. I've seen that. My average cost for Bitcoin is 74. Hold no matter what. So this is a great question that I would normally go over in coaching. I'll give you an answer based on what I know. If I'm in your shoes, yes. But I'm not in your shoes. If this is me and I have Bitcoin at 74, yeah, I'm holding it no matter what. But it kind of comes down to a few things. Do you have any debt? Do you have savings? Do you have a steady income? These are all things that need to be in the right place for you to be able to hold the Bitcoin. There are a lot of times that people, they have an investment and they're like, oh, should I hold the investment? Well, it really doesn't come down to the investment. It comes down to you. Are you in a position to hold it? I definitely would hold Bitcoin at 74. I love that entry. I've got some entries down at 74, and I've got entries down at 3 and 5,000. Not 30 and 50,000, 3 and 5,000. I'm holding them for the long term, very long term, no matter what. But we're also in a strong financial position where I don't need the investments right now. Pistol, it simply comes down to this. Are you in debt? Do you have your 3 to 6 month emergency fund? Do you have a steady income? Do you have control over your wealth as far as you're budgeting it? Are you able to be generous? Is there some margin in your budget so you can have some extra to enjoy, invest, and give? If all those things are in the right place, hell yeah, hold the Bitcoin, in my opinion. I mean, you do what you want. I'm not your financial advisor, as they say. But if I'm you and I'm in a strong financial position, yeah, I'm not selling it. It's a good entry. It'll be worth a lot more one day. In the next 10 years, that Bitcoin will probably 10x. So, yeah, I mean, it's just that simple. Let's read a little bit of chat. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hey, Jeb, if you had extra money, would you spend it on paying down your principal on your mortgage or invest it into crypto? I'd split it and I'd do both. So we teach the financial sovereignty way. It's 10 steps, four phases. We got the first 3 phases, which are the triad. The first triad is the war on chaos. That's where we choose to be financially sovereign. We live on less than we make, and we have a written plan for our money. After we do that, we're done with chaos. Now we got order. Now from order, we can build. We got the war on debt. We can use our strength in the area of order to pay off our debt. It's $2,500 starter emergency fund, pay down our consumer debt, save 3 to 6 months of emergency fund. That way we have no chaos, no debt. We're in a strong financial position to begin investing, which is important. Can't skip that. You don't want to be investing if you're not in a strong position. Triad 3, we're investing 15% of our household income for retirement. We're working on paying down our mortgage. Then we're investing for extra wealth generation. So my question to you is, are you in a position where you're investing 15% of your house? Or are you in a position where you've got rid of the chaos, got a budget, living on less than you make? You've killed the debt. Are you investing 15% of your household income for retirement? After that, are you putting enough money into principal reduction that you will be mortgage-free within 10 years? If not, invest in mortgage reduction until you're debt-free within 10 years. After that, then step 9 of the financial sovereignty way is investing for extra wealth generation. That's how I would split it. If you are through all of that, then that's where you just, you would invest for extra wealth generation. There's a big part of me where when I see somebody and they got cash, I'm like, boom, just throw it all into the debt. Just throw it all into the debt. But I also understand that you're going to get a huge return in Bitcoin over the next 5 years, whereas in the next 5 years, you might make $1 to $2 on savings for every dollar you invest. You might get a 100, 200% return on paying down your mortgage over the course of the mortgage, right, over the course of 30 years. But you also might get that in 5 years in Bitcoin. So we want to work on being debt-free within 10 years. I don't want the length of your slavery to be longer than a decade. But after that, then that's where we would start putting a lot of that towards other investments, such as Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. After the house is paid off, then you might start putting money into a brokerage account, holding S&P 500 or holding Bitcoin or something, and then turn around and put that into a rental portfolio. A lot of ways to build your net worth after we've invested for wealth generation, after we've invested for retirement and investing for having a paid-for home. So, yeah, that's what I would do. Big question. Are you debt-free? Do you live on less than you make? Do you have a stable income? Do you have 3 to 6 months of savings? Do you have a budget that you do every single month and you abide by? Are you investing 15% of household income for retirement? By the way, some of that retirement can be in Bitcoin. That's kind of what we consider our Bitcoin to be, is long-term, not touching it for decades. And then after that, then yes, work on getting that mortgage paid off within 10 years. You can do the math, figure out, okay, if I do this much every month, it'll be paid off in 8 years. Okay, good. You're within our parameters there. All right. If you guys want to learn more about how to be financially sovereign and actually succeed in life, the mainstream media, most YouTubers, most people on TikTok, they don't have a freaking clue what they're talking about. Let's just be real. I mean, and you guys know it too. Most people out there that are teaching about money, they don't have any money. They don't have any experience. They just started. They have no idea what they're flipping talking about. I've been teaching you guys how to succeed in cryptocurrency markets and how to succeed with money for the better part of a decade, and I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of my life so long as God gives me breath in my lungs, and I'm going to show you how to do that, especially in the Financial Sovereignty Academy. If you guys want to go and check out FinSov Academy, I have a special announcement. Episode 8, How to Pay Off Your House Early, just came out. This video is absolutely epic. It is 35 minutes long, and it's not 35 minutes long packed full of junk. There is so much content in here. This is an incredible video talking about how to pay off your mortgage early, why you should, why it's important spiritually, why it's important practically and financially, and why it's important for your family. We're going to talk about exactly why we should pay off our house in less than 10 years, why it's going to save you hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally paying off your house within 10 years. For most of you, in most of your situation, you're basically going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this. In this video, let's kind of skip forward. There's an example that we show towards the end here where we talk about how paying off your mortgage, following the mortgage parameters that we show you, you'd pay like $100,000 in interest over the lifespan of the loan instead of what people typically do and pay $340,000. Here it is right here. You can see this. $102,000 versus, this is me talking about it here, $102,000 versus what people do a lot of times, and they're paying $440,000 in interest over the lifespan of the loan. So make sure to sign up. See the difference there? 102, 446. These are the two different parameters. This is me showing you the two different ways that you should set up a mortgage. Do you want to pay $102,000 over 15 years or $446,000 over 30 years? Because this is what most people are going to do. Most people are going to do this. Take a screenshot, take a still. Most people are going to do this, and they're going to spend $500,000. They're going to spend $800,000 on a $350,000 home. On the other hand, you could end up paying 20% of that. If you want to save 80% on the interest on your house, I'm going to show you how. Check this out. This video is amazing. Great video. We've got over 3 hours of content in FinSov Academy now. Shooting videos every single week, uploading videos every single week, week 7 and week 8, investing 15% of household income for retirement, and week 8, paying off your house early, are both now live in the Financial Sovereignty Academy. Week 9 and 10 are coming before the end of the month, so stay tuned for them. Very excited for you guys to see the entire financial sovereignty way outlined, and then we're going to come back and backfill all kinds of videos, different lectures, different quizzes, different PDFs, different topics, teaching you guys about how to be financially sovereign. So if you have not already, make sure to sign up for the Financial Sovereignty Academy. Come check this video out right here. You're going to love it. Also, make sure to go to the link in the description box down below and sign up for Blowfin, because there is an amazing promotion going on over there right now. Let me just show you real quick here. There's an amazing promotion going on Blowfin right here. Let me find it. Right here. It's a spin the wheel, and it's also basically you can just get $10 instantly. Deposit $100 on Blowfin, you're going to get $10 immediately. Literally, you want to make 10% on your money? Go sign up right now. Go sign up for Blowfin, deposit $100, you're going to get $10 in Bitcoin. This is limited to the first 100 users, and those are going to go quick, so make sure to sign up, register right now. And after you do, for every $10,000 of futures trading volume, which is really easy to get if you're trading futures. Some of you guys are out here doing millions of dollars of trading volume. I can see some of your trading volume. Some of you guys are doing like $10, $20 million of trading volume. It's crazy. Spin the wheel over and over and over and over and over again. You can win up to 1.2 Bitcoin when you spin the wheel. So go do some trading, spin the wheel, win some Bitcoin, and build your wealth. Stack some sats. Sign up for Blowfin. Sign up for FinSoft Academy. Also check out NordVPN. They're amazing. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the next stream. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.